For me, eyes are the most important thing in a photograph, especially if you're a documentary photographer or a portrait. Eyes tell the whole story. I mean, yeah, you can have these writings, but when the eyes talk, you don't need anything else. So for me, what I always try to do is to get my subject have the eyes wide open. So I'm trying to capture that second, that millisecond. For the shot we have today, it's just one shot. So I was basically walking down the stairs, and this young girl was walking upwards, and I was checking my settings. So I just lifted up. I saw that something interesting is approaching. I lift my camera up and I took the shot. So more or less everything it's fine. But if you want to zoom in and print it like a massive big format, then you cannot do it. Most of the good quality, I mean the image can be best seen if it's printed out in A4 format. So this image is from Sapa, Vietnam. It's a mountainous region up in the north of the country, and it's home to this minority called the Hmong. So they're amazing people, and in the past years they started working as guides, especially the ladies, and taking clients, I mean tourists, into the mountains for hikes, day trips, 2 days or a week long trips. So you can visit the other villages. Me and my wife were there. We were documenting the Hmong people, the way of their lifestyle, and all those things. After I took this shot, I talked with this girl because my guide, I had an amazing guide, a young girl that spoke perfect English, so she was able to translate. And this girl that you're now seeing was 16 years old, and she already had a little boy. The boy was 1 year old, and so yeah, she had this boy when she was just 15. The interesting thing is that this girl was, I think, the only one that actually had love in the relationship with her husband. The husband was 10 years old. I cannot remember really the name, and it was very difficult, so I don't want to mispronounce it. And yeah, so she had a happy life. But now let's go into the image and start editing it. So the thing is with this image is I have the open eyes, which is perfect, and I already have the cropping pre-planned, not to waste time on that one, to trying different and better aspects on the ratio on the crop. So yeah, 1 centimeter from above up to the waist, and yeah, that is perfect. So I have some tweaks that I'm tweaks on the settings that are like default for me, that I'm instantly touching. I'm instantly working with those settings. So it's lowering the highlights, increasing a bit the shadows, adding a little bit of vibrance up to 15 usually, and then lowering the saturation down to -20, and then going back to 0 slowly to find which percent is most suitable for my taste. So yeah, this one I think it can go to -15. So the next thing that I will do is a little bit increase the exposure. Okay, that's enough. Okay, and I would like to lower the shadows, guys. So this is nothing is pre-planned. I'm editing live, so maybe the video will be longer because I will try different settings. I will go back and forth. So if you would prefer that I'm doing scripted editings, then tell me. But I think that this way is better because we kind of connect, and you can feel and you can stay with my workflow. So the next thing that I love to do when I'm working on portraits is applying radial filter. That's my favorite tool for portraits, and when I work on with the face of the people. So I will apply the radial filter on the face instantly, and just make sure that you click invert. That applies on the face, not on the
the whole image. So yeah, I think that some settings, we have some previous settings when I used the brush on the previous image, so I want to lower the texture. I don't know how are you playing with the texture, but for me it's not going well. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it a lot, but I still love the clarity. On this image I will go up to 15 max for the radial filter on the face, on the clarity, because it can give a nice contrast to the wrinkles and the freckles. I will increase a little bit the texture, and I shouldn't go very high on the sharpness because then it's gonna look very like a plasticky. So up to 10 with the sharpness on this particular part of the image, and then I would increase the exposure. So we will increase the exposure up to 30. Yeah, up to 30. Yeah, that's perfect. And let's increase the shadows a little bit more to see if we can get some nice effect. So as I said, with the clarity, I'm giving the nice contrast to the freckles and the wrinkles, and I think this is done. So the title of the video is that we are working on the eyes. So how do I make the eyes pop and they can literally tell the whole story. They can drive you into the image. They can drive you into the soul of the subject that is being photographed. I am using again the radial filter, and I'm applying it only to the eyes. Make sure that the invert is clicked. So you make sure that the border of the radial filter is where the eyelids start. I think that those things are called eyelids when they're open. Yeah, they're eyelids. So I will lower the sharpness, I don't know why the saturation is so up, lower the texture, lower the clarity, and we only want to play with the exposure and the whites. So make sure that you don't apply too much brightening of the white part of the eye, because then you're gonna lose this red, I don't know how they're called, like veins or capillary, I don't know. But so don't, make sure that you have them, you don't lose them. So maybe leave even more the shadows. Let's see if we lower the highlights on the eye, if it makes any difference. Yeah, that's perfect. So I'm always, when I do this, I always duplicate the layer to see how it will look like if it's even more increased. So this, it's obviously too much now. So I'm gonna only be lowering the settings on the second radial filter. So okay, that's, I think, perfect. Yep. Actually, I will lower it a little bit more. So like 20. It should be fine. We need to remove that blue from the reflection in the center of the Zeiss. So saturation is going down, blacks are going down, and it will kind of darken more the Zeiss, or I don't know how it's properly called. So let's apply that in the middle. Make it a little bit darker, but make sure that you still have the reflection, because the reflection what makes the eye natural. If you remove the reflection, then you're done. The eye is dead. So I will lower the saturation also in the radial filters. That was maybe a bit too much. Okay, so now one of the eyes is done. You can see the difference. What we want to do now is copy those layers and apply them and position them on the other eye. Okay. Like this. Again, lower the saturation to kill the blue. Let's see now. That's perfect. Now we just need to apply the brush with which we darken the eyes. So I think this will be perfect. Now we have the same settings. We're not gonna duplicate it. We're just gonna paint over the other eye. So let's see what we have here. Wow, that's amazing. Look at the difference. Such a big difference. You can instantly make a connection with the subject. Now the next thing what I want to do is, and I'm always doing, is increasing the color of the eyelid. With you know these red parts that are actually the ones that are close to the eye itself. So by making them darker, it's like a border of the eye, and it's making it pop even more. So again, with the brush tool, just make sure the saturation is normal, and then here we are increasing the contrast and we are lowering down the blacks. So like this. Never forget that middle part, because that's making the image even nicer. I mean the eye is even nicer. So like this. Okay, don't say that it's instantly too much. Of course it is too much, and I'm not gonna leave it to be as a makeup here. It's just to see where I'm gonna be working, and now I can just simply lower the blacks and the contrast, and you see it's already nicer. But I think that we can lower the saturation because it's simply too red on this part. Yeah, that should be fine. I wanna lower the saturation on the biggest radial filter that is supposed to apply the whole face. So yeah, that one should be down to 0 to 3. What do you think? Looks cool, huh? It looks very cool. So now the next thing, oh, this was too much, lowering the saturation. Now it should be better. We'll fix it. Yeah. Okay. So now what we want to do, because now this way is too much like she's suffering from some eye disease, we want to paint out this part. We want to paint out that part, and so we can blend in the skin tones with these eyelid tones. Let's take a new brush. Clarity up, a little bit of the contrast, and then let's start painting. Maybe that's too much clarity. Let's play with the texture a bit. Lower the. Yeah, that's supposed to be. That's perfect. So you see instantly when we applied this, her wrinkles came to light. Let's put a little bit on the wrinkles. Actually, this is the freckles. I'm mixing those two. So yeah, the eyebrows. Oops, that's I never put this on the nose, because it's the nose is always the brightest part. So on the shadows of the nose, on the lips, the chin, and the edges of the face. So just you avoid this part. Okay. I think it's perfect. I think it's super nice. What do you think? It's cool, no? Now what I want to do now is increase the color, because if you remember, we saturated the image, so now we want to increase the color to bring the color back, and that color is the orange, because the skin tone is orangey. I don't know how's the shade of orange called, the skin tone, but they were because her skin is pretty rough, always in the sun. That's how the color is. I want to apply, and I'm always doing this, I want to apply a brush tool on the hair with clarity, so you can see the pieces of hair when where the hair is flying, or how is it tucked in the head. So again, increasing the clarity, maybe even texture, sharpness. You can apply all these things for the hair. And I also increase the whites in when I work on the hair, because then it can bring forward if she has gray hair or some other shadows. So yeah, this is how it should be. Maybe we can apply the same thing on the hat that she's wearing, and we can apply on the kiddo's hair, and it's perfect. So I can say that her face is almost done, the eyes are done. We will increase the reds a bit, and I think it's beautiful. So this is the before, and this is after. You see the difference? So the eyes are bringing you into the image. You can just dive in and you can just read her story, that she's a tough woman, that she's working day and night on the fields, raising a child, taking care of the household, and yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that eyes can do all these things. And what I want to do next is, before we finish, is apply some saturation and texture, clarity, contrast on the clothing, on the patterns of the clothes, because that's a traditional Hmong outfit, and these patterns are typical for them, for their clothes. And yeah, I think this is perfect. Not to go too much, and I would like to add vignettes on this image, because I think that it's gonna be cool. We don't need to be bothered by all this from this area. Okay, let's go done. And yeah, I forgot to remove the chromatic aberration. So yeah, crop vignettes. That's enough. I'm always adding grain on my images, because I simply love how it looks with the grain. So the image is done, guys. I hope you like this video. I hope it's not too long, and if you like it, click like, click subscribe, and see you in the next video. Peace.